Hello again from Metro Manila, the Philippines, Southeastern Asia. On December the 7th, 1970, apparently spontaneously, the West German Federal Chancellor or Prime Minister Mr. Willy Brandt of the Social Democratic Party knelt before the Warsaw Ghetto uprisings victims memorial. The occasion of his visit to Warsaw was to sign a treaty of friendship known as the Warsaw Treaty or the Treaty of Warsaw with Poland, where West Germany recognized Poland's western frontier as the so-called Oder-Neisse line, named after the Oder and Lusatian-Neisse rivers, something that in West Germany itself, especially many Christian Democrats, not to mention the right-wing extremists, still had opposed, because in their opinion, should unite with West Germany, perhaps Germany could recover some of the territories lost in what is now Poland, at least parts of Pomerania and Silesia. Pomerania in northwestern Poland and Silesia in southwestern Poland. Willy Brandt, or originally Karl Frahm, had been able to escape from Germany already in April 1933, so only about 3 months after Adolf Hitler had been appointed Reich Chancellor or Prime Minister. He was able to escape in a small motor boat from northern Germany to eastern Denmark, and then he proceeded to Norway, where he lived supposedly as a Norwegian student. He lived there until Germany occupied Norway in 1940. Then he transferred to the neighboring Sweden. And during those 12 years in Scandinavia, he learned Norwegian and Swedish. And even later in life, he was able to converse in those languages. Willy Brandt was actually his pseudonym or made-up name in order for him to escape the notorious Nazi secret police, the Gestapo. After he returned to Germany following the Second World War, he then made Willy Brandt his official name. He later served as the Lord Mayor of West Berlin. He was mayor still at the time of John Kennedy's Ich bin ein Berliner, or I am a citizen of Berlin speech in 1963. For the first time, he was the Social Democratic candidate for federal chancellor or prime minister in 1961, but despite being already 85 years old and despite suffering from a gradually declining popularity, the Christian Democratic incumbent federal chancellor Konrad Adenauer was still able to beat him by forming a coalition government. However, in 1969, Brandt was successful. He managed to form a narrow majority government with the Free Democrats, the so-called Social Liberal Coalition. In his inaugural speech to the Bundestag, if you may call it that, anyway, a speech outlining his political and legislative priorities, he declared, "Wir wollen mehr Demokratie wagen," or we, or more figuratively speaking, we want to take a chance on more democracy. This statement was designed to appeal to the left-wing radicals who formed a significant minority of West German young people and young adults in the late 1960s and who had felt ignored by the governments. And indeed, West Germany became a more socially and culturally and politically liberal country during the 4.5 years of Willy Brandt's federal chancellorship from October 1969 until his sudden resignation in May 1974. He also instituted the so-called Ostpolitik, or a new, friendlier and more conciliatory foreign policy towards the communist Eastern European countries. Already in March 1970, he visited East Germany and negotiated with the East German Prime Minister to visit Poland and to sign that friendship treaty with Poland, but also to lay a wreath at the memorial of the Warsaw Ghetto uprisings victims. This uprising had happened in the spring of 1943, demolition and the deportation of all survivors to concentration camps. So, how did he himself explain this gesture? In his memoirs, he wrote, Unter der Last der jüngsten Geschichte tat ich, was Menschen tun, wenn die Worte versagen. So gedachte ich Millionen ermordeten. In this way, I commemorated millions of murdered people. And indeed, he received the Nobel Peace Prize for his efforts to promote more peaceful and tolerant and understanding relations between the East and the West in 1971. And I think he explained on one YouTube video clip that, of course, it was clipped from a longer interview, that he was silently praying on behalf of the German people, because he definitely had opposed Nazism and the Holocaust, and he wanted, with this symbolic but albeit rather plain gesture, to show the deep remorse he felt on behalf of the German people for the 6 million Jews killed, and of course the millions of other people, including Poles, killed by the Nazis during the Second World War.